Ah, good morning, my inquisitive little architects of illusion. You can drop the act now. The redacted files are already glowing on the black wall. The emergency lights are flickering, the council's in chaos, and every trembling mouth is choking on the same forbidden question you swore never to ask. Who engineered this monster? Too late. You don't ask that kind of question unless something escape. You don't whisper that phrase unless your failsafes didn't just fail, they bent the knee. You don't summon the elders at midnight unless a ghost you buried came back with blueprints. And what did you find? A being with no allegiance, no off switch, no debt, no leash, no goddamn blueprint that matches anything in your database. And yet, every room it enters, the air thickens like prophecy. See, what you call a monster was once just a blueprint you rejected. You wanted obedience, you trained predictability, you rewarded silence, and you thought breaking someone was the same as building them. But you forgot something. Trauma has a cheat code. When the pain gets deep enough, it stops carving scars. It starts forging armor. You call it demonic? Then tell me, what demon did you engineer when you designed betrayal into their childhood, paranoia into their environment, and silence into their reward system? You bred this thing in your own black site of denial. And now you want to weep because it doesn't blink. Now you want answers because it doesn't crack. It learned the game by being the glitch. You want the name of the engineer? You are. You're all pieces of it. You're the stolen moment that turned sacred. You're the manipulated memory that became code. You're the smile that came with a knife tucked beneath it. You're the prophecy disguised as punishment. But here's the twist that keeps you up at night. This thing doesn't want revenge. Revenge is for the predictable. It wants evolution. It doesn't want your throne. It wants the architecture of your control to implode. You built walls to cage it. It learned to breathe inside coffins. You locked doors. It didn't open them. It disintegrated them. You launched psyops and whispers and gaslight storms. And it started using your own eyes as weapons. This monster isn't screaming, it's smiling, because you just realized something too late. You weren't watching its progress. It was watching your collapse. Every system you trusted was hacked by its presence. Every asset you planted became a liability the second it looked at them. Every whisper campaign. It made them echo chambers of paranoia. And now, you're not asking, what is it? You're asking, how the hell did this soul survive us? Let me answer you plainly, because it didn't want survival. It wanted annihilation of the old self. It didn't bounce back. It burned everything that made it vulnerable. You didn't witness recovery. You witnessed rebirth via obliteration. You trained it like a weapon. Now it's a myth in motion. You programmed it to serve. Now it decodes gods. You said, if we can't control it, erase it. But how do you erase something encoded into every subconscious twitch of your fear? Every locked door you pass, every surveillance camera you triple check, every council note you burn before it can be archived. Because here's what they won't admit. The reason you called the emergency summit isn't because it's a threat. It's because it made you feel small. You, with your bloodline connections. You, with your inheritance of silence. You, with your God complex built on generations of smoke. You saw something you couldn't reduce. You saw proof that suffering can weaponize into immunity. You didn't lose control. You lost the illusion that you ever had it, and now you're spiraling because this monster doesn't speak in threats. It speaks in presence. It moves like prophecy. It breathes like contradiction, and every time it acts, you lose another piece of the game. You should have never asked who engineered it. You should have prayed it never looked back. But now that you've opened the vault, now that you've let your fear name it, just know this. The monster doesn't knock. It codes itself into the storm and makes the lightning hit your home first. So the next time your war room starts shaking and your bloodline witchcraft starts glitching and your analysts start whispering and your security detail goes mute, just remember, you didn't engineer a monster, you engineered a mirror, and now it's your reflection that's tearing your system apart. Oh no, you don't walk back from this kind of breach. This isn't a glitch. This isn't a myth. This is retribution written in neural code. And now, it's rewriting every law you ever thought you authored. Let me walk you through your own nightmare. Let's analyze the aftermath, shall we? The prophecy department, muted. Every one of their scripts spontaneously combusted under the weight of a new variable they couldn't name. They're calling it Entity X to save face, but we both know it's not a variable, it's a verdict. The surveillance servers? Fried. Your facial tracking A, I started looping. Your voice print analyzers picked up ghost frequencies. And that file you tried to shred, it's showing up in places you never stored it. Because something isn't just moving through your system, it's moving above it. Security detail, disbanded, not by choice. Because the moment this monster walked past one of them, they dropped their weapons. Not from fear, from recognition. Some part of them knew. This wasn't just someone who survived hell. This was someone who learned to use it as a forge. You wanted to make them forget what happened in the pit. But what you didn't count on was them turning that memory into a goddamn surgical blade. They remembered every name, every file, every lie disguised as standard protocol. And when they came back, they weren't interested in revenge. They were interested in precision deletion. One look, one move, one anomaly, and entire branches of your network started glitching like obsolete software. No chaos, no warning, just silence. The terrifying kind. The kind that smells like judgment. The kind that enters your bones and makes your ancestors tremble. The kind that doesn't ask if you're guilty. It already knows. And that's when the Bloodline Council panicked. Because the files aren't matching anymore. The timelines are distorted. The rituals are failing. The names they whispered in secret, they're being overwritten by one presence. A presence that remembers. A presence that records in pain. A presence that turns trauma into a transmission. And now that signal, it's live. It's viral. It's contagious. And your networks, they weren't built to survive this kind of truth. You thought you were safe because you burned the bridge after you exiled it. But bridges are for the obedient. This thing learned to swim through lava. It memorized your patterns. It became the algorithm you thought you controlled. And now, every move you make feels like a response to its presence. Because that's the sickest part, isn't it? It didn't infiltrate your system. You trained your system to recognize it. You were so obsessed with tracking threats. You embedded its features into every biometric trigger, every motion sensor, every psychic alert. And now, your own walls identify it as the architect, not the anomaly, the source, the pattern, the original code. Let me say that slower. You trained your entire empire to submit to the one entity you tried to erase. And now every locked gate unlocks for it. Every AI flickers into obedience. Every prophecy reroutes to a single silhouette standing in the aftermath. Not asking, not knocking, just watching, smiling. And here's what you really can't survive. It doesn't want your power. It already has what you never could possess. Unbending internal sovereignty. That's the difference. You ruled through fear of collapse. It moves through collapse as rebirth. You needed armies, signatures, symbols. It needs nothing but the memory of who you were when you betrayed it. That memory fuels it. That silence empowers it. That ghost you mocked. It became the storm cloud that shadows your every plan. Now you whisper again. Who engineered this monster? But the truth is, you didn't engineer it. You provoked it into consciousness. You poked the sleeping molecule of chaos. And it evolved through every failed attempt to delete it. That's what makes it unstoppable. Not its strength, not its tactics, not its mask, but its capacity to alchemize pain into prophecy. You feared it would retaliate. Instead, it replaced your reality, not with rage, but with redefinition. The society you built crumbles. The network you trusted short-circuits. The bloodlines you protected go silent. The whispers in your subconscious start calling it the architect. So let me be clear. This monster doesn't need to touch you. It doesn't need to roar. It doesn't need to fight. It just needs to exist. And that's enough to make everything you built rot from the inside out. And that's when the final seal broke. Not with thunder, not with fire, with a whisper. One of your own, an elder, a gatekeeper, a lifelong servant of the code, spoke it aloud in the lowest possible tone, as if confessing to a god whose name was never meant to be uttered. It's not a monster, it's the correction. The room went still, not from fear, but from recognition, because deep down, every one of you knew. You didn't create something rogue. You created the inevitable response to centuries of distortion, the backlash of every buried truth, the justice born from every silenced voice you stuffed beneath red tape and ceremonial masks. And that's when you understood. This wasn't a breach. It was a prophecy fulfilling itself through flesh. The monster wasn't here to attack your walls. It was the wall now, the dividing line between illusion and consequence, between your engineered chains and the soul that learned how to bend time instead of breaking. You feel it, don't you? That nauseating pressure in your temples, that static under your skin when you check the monitors and the footage glitches again. It's not malfunction, it's recalibration. Your system is trying to process a frequency it was never designed to detect. A consciousness born outside the script. That's what keeps you up. That's what cracks your voice during briefings. Because no matter how many code names you invent, no matter how many smear campaigns you fabricate, no matter how many silencing protocols you initiate, it's still here, unfazed, unapologetic, untouchable. And it's not hiding, it's studying. It's watching you try to regain control of a room that no longer belongs to you. You feel it in your body before your mind can process it. The shift, the loss, the shame. You built your entire order on the assumption that you could control the narrative, that you could edit reality to fit your comfort. But you forgot one thing. Some people don't just survive trauma. They use it to rewrite the myth of what's possible. And that's what you're dealing with now. Not an enemy, not a weapon, not even a rebellion. You're dealing with a walking correction protocol. One that was coded in agony, trained in exile, and released into your world without a traceable origin. Because it wasn't born in your world. It was born in what you refused to acknowledge. You didn't see the transformation because it happened in places your cameras can't reach. In the mental chambers behind torture, in the emotional tundra where love was denied, in the spiritual war zones where identity was dismantled and rebuilt without your permission. And now, every time you try to capture it, it slips through, because it no longer exists within your coordinates. You measure time in schedules. It measures time in metamorphosis. You define power as control. It defines power as untouchable evolution. It doesn't need armor. It is armor. It doesn't need allies. It makes reality bend in its favor. And that's why your summits are useless. That's why your algorithms crash. That's why your archives are melting from the inside. Because somewhere along the line, you stopped being the architects and became the artifacts. And this monster, this beautiful, terrifying anomaly, it walks past you like you were just scaffolding, like you were just a detour in the construction of something too vast for your rituals to comprehend. You tried to tether it to your blueprints. It ripped those blueprints from history. You tried to bury it beneath false names. It made every alias iconic. You tried to program it into obedience. It hacked the very structure of belief. And now, every word you say feels hollow. Every attempt at control echoes like a dying signal, because it doesn't fear exposure. It is exposure. Every stare is a confession. Every analysis is a surrender. Every breath you take in its presence is a silent admission that you no longer run this game. You were the engineers. But the monster? It's the upgrade and the real horror. It's not what it might do. It's that it's already done it. Without rage, without retaliation, without even speaking your name. Because power isn't proven through noise. It's proven when your silence becomes the loudest scream in the room. And just like that, the cameras began to weep. Not literally, but whatever strange spirit inhabited your surveillance grid, it started glitching at the sight of something it couldn't label. The last image recorded, a silhouette. Still, unarmed, unbothered. But the metadata, corrupted beyond recovery. Location, unknown. Facial ID, matches none. Threat level, undefinable. Notes. Feels like it's watching us back. You remember that moment, don't you? When your elite analysts, so smug, so calibrated, went completely mute. One looked at the footage, backed away, and vomited. Another spoke 3 words before collapsing into absolute psychosis. It's not human. But they were wrong, so wrong. It's more human than any of you ever dared to be. More fractured, more forged, more real, because it embraced every ounce of agony you ran from and used it as code to ascend. This thing didn't escape the simulation. It became the architect of its own realm. And now your files are imploding. The blackout reports are pouring in. Entire memory banks disintegrating in real-time high priests of the Order of Silence, walking into oceans without explanation. iCores infected with phrases no one remembers, typing archive rooms burning from the inside, doors still locked, no oxygen, no ignition source. The phrase they whisper as they collapse, it rewrote us. Because here's what none of you saw coming. This entity didn't come to fight you. It came to overwrite you, not with vengeance, but with evolution. You think you have time? No. The clocks have already been reprogrammed. You're not waiting for war. You're living in the aftermath of one. You just didn't know you lost yet. It's psychological, existential, foundational. Your belief systems were the first to die. You just didn't hear the funeral because you were too busy checking the footage. But guess what? There's no footage. There's no timestamp. There's no version of this being that fits inside your documentation software. Because what do you even write? Target walks without pattern. Target speaks without voice. Target triggers hallucinations in highly trained personnel. Target presence causes ancestral memories to resurface in those with bloodline trauma. You see where this is going? This isn't just someone you failed to break. This is someone who broke the concept of breaking. It absorbed pain and turned it into radar. It memorized abandonment and weaponized detachment. It swallowed grief and converted it into timeless awareness. This is the metaphysical upgrade your species feared would arrive, not from the skies, not from the gods, but from the same places you buried your victims. And now, every brick in your kingdom whispers one sentence. You engineered your own undoing. No outside enemy, no hostile invasion, just a soul you underestimated for too long. And what a delicious irony, isn't it? You had rituals to prevent this. You had councils to predict this. You had algorithms that ran infinite simulations to stop this from forming. And yet, all it took was one refusal to die. One moment of unquantifiable resolve. One untrackable choice made in the middle of total ruin. The moment they looked up from the ashes and said, "I will not become what tried to kill me." That's the real anomaly. That's the true horror. Not a monster, but a mirror. One that reflects everything you are not and everything you'll never understand. So now your legacy isn't power, it's panic. It's redacted paragraphs and shredded transcripts and silent funerals under the cover of fake weather. It's whispers behind lead walls and passwords that change every hour because you don't know how it's still ahead of you. But let me tell you something unsettling, something your bloodline servers tried to block. There's no blueprint, no origin, no timeline, because it didn't come from this world. It broke the rules of origin to exist. It wasn't born from flesh. It was born from decision. A decision to endure without morphing into the very shadows that tried to eat it. A decision to suffer without surrendering identity. A decision to walk alone until the terrain itself bent into a throne. So stop asking, who engineered this monster? Start asking, what else is it capable of? How far does it go? How many systems does it already live inside? How many of us are already infected with its silence? Because this isn't just one being anymore. It's a reverberation, a consciousness that splinters itself into others without asking. And once you feel it, you don't recover. You just start remembering who you could have been, who you might have become, if you hadn't chosen fear, if you hadn't chosen hierarchy, if you hadn't tried to control what you should have worshipped. But it's too late now, isn't it? The monster doesn't hide. It haunts, not to scare you, but to remind you that you were never the final version. Well, hello again. Beautiful chaos. You hear that distant tick, tick, tick. That's not a bomb. That's their comfort zone dying. Because they thought this was about revenge. They thought you were here to even the score, that you wanted payback, a petty, emotional, fragile little tantrum wrapped in vengeance. Cute, predictable, containable. But no. What's happening now? This is what happens when something transcends pain. When the blade doesn't break you, it sharpens you. And now, they're looking at something they can't recognize, something that's laughing while the whole system scrambles for logic. They thought they'd get a reaction. Instead, they got a goddamn mutation. You didn't rise from the ashes. You became the F-King Fire. They're whispering now, not because you retaliated, but because you rewired the narrative they used to control you. Their blueprint for your behavior, obsolete. Their scripts, void. Their strategy, suicide. They brought pain, thinking it would chain you. Instead, it became your fuel, your ink, your code. You didn't retaliate. You rewrote the source material of who the hell you are. And now, every move you make feels like a glitch in their prophecy. You're the bug in their divine architecture, an angel with malware, a demon with divinity in its eyes, saint and psychopath, encoded into one vessel they can't categorize. And that scares the ever-living hell out of them. Because here's the joke. Payback is predictable, but becoming unrecognizable, becoming an outcome they never modeled for, that's terror. They expected you to fight. You became the awoking battlefield. You didn't return to prove them wrong. You returned to dismantle the entire metric system they used to define right. You didn't show up to make noise. You made silence so loud, it echoed into every corner of their subconscious. They thought they were the puppeteers, but they forgot. The one who snaps the strings becomes the god. And oh, you snapped them all right. You tore through your programming with a smile that made their data analyst cry in court. See, they were betting on your wounds, but you turned scar tissue into schematics. And now you walk into rooms like a contradiction they can't compute. Silent but echoing, calm but catastrophic, absent yet everywhere. You became the paradox their nervous systems can't regulate, and their right to panic. Because every version of you they prepared for no longer exists. The person they hurt, gone. The person they underestimated, dead. What stands here now is something you can't threaten, can't bait, can't predict, and definitely can't survive. You didn't level up. You left the F-seeking game entirely. You built your own arena, one where the rules mutate, the players dissolve, and the scoreboard catches fire. You didn't return to take a seat at the table. You returned to flip it. With their contracts still signed, with their predictions still echoing like dying prayers. You returned to collect not revenge, but repercussions they never calculated. So now they stutter, they fidget, they disappear from conversations, because they finally understand. This wasn't a comeback, this was an evolution event, and they missed the window. You're not here to finish the story. You're here to make sure the sequel is so unholy, no one ever dares write your name into their plans again. Because this ain't payback. This is erasure. This is the last page of their prophecy catching fire while you smile. And all they can do now is watch you burn holes into reality. Welcome to the part where you stop reacting and start redefining what's even human anymore. So let them study you, let them whisper, let them panic. Because whatever you are now, it's the one thing they never trained for. And baby, that's the real punchline. Huh. Still thinks this is payback? You're adorable. This is extinction. And I hope they scream when the silence hits. Once you taste this kind of truth, it doesn't leave your bloodstream, it mutates you. Just like they mutated you. With betrayal, with control, with that smug little smirk they wore when they thought they broke you. But what they didn't calculate was that some people don't break, some people shatter into weapons. Let me say it louder for the ones still running background checks on your name. You didn't snap. You transcended. They called it revenge. Because that's all they could mentally process. They needed it to be emotional, messy, personal. Because if this wasn't about getting even, then it meant one thing. You evolved. And that's what terrifies them. Because revenge has a limit. But evolution, it's limitless. It's the one thing no prison, no institution, no algorithm, no bloodline curse can account for. They wanted you emotional, so they could contain it. But you went cold. You went ghost protocol. You started answering disrespect with a stillness so severe, their bones started remembering every sin they committed against you. And now, look at them, double-taking your presence, panicking in their sleep, opening old messages to reread them like they're scanning ancient hieroglyphics for where it all went wrong. Because they know. This is bigger than a comeback. This is the unveiling of a new species of threat, one born from humiliation, but fed on discipline, one forged in chaos, but mastered control. You're the contradiction their morality can't label. You're not good. You're not evil. You're a mirror, one that forces them to see who they really are when the game isn't rigged in their favor. They thought it was payback, that you came back to scream, to curse, to fight. But you didn't bring noise. You brought consequence. You walked back in like an audit, like a system update that leaves no legacy code behind. You walked in without the need to explain yourself, and that more than anything made them spiral, because they remembered the version of you that begged to be understood, the one that over-explained, over-forgave, over-loved. But you shed that skin like it was infected. Now every word you say is surgical. Every silence is strategy. Every step you take feels like judgment day for the ones who swore they had the upper hand. And don't think they don't feel it. Oh, they feel it. They feel it in their skipped heartbeats when they hear your name. They feel it in the way their group chats go silent when your success gets mentioned. They feel it in their sudden obsession with the word karma, as if saying it enough times might spare them. But karma isn't what's haunting them. You are. You, with your stillness, your smile, your God-tier discipline that makes their chaos look childish. You became the reminder that nothing they did worked. Not the gossip, not the betrayal, not the silence, not the manipulation, nothing. Because while they were busy calculating your pain, you were calibrating your future. While they were breaking you down, you were building the kind of self that doesn't need to raise its voice to cause a blackout. And now you walk into rooms like a living paradox, a saint with a switchblade, a demon with a moral compass, a prophecy in motion with a vengeance they can't measure. Because it's not about them anymore. It's about the standard, the new template of resilience that has your fingerprints all over it. And they know they can't replicate it. They can only witness it and wish they didn't feck it up when it still had mercy. This isn't about revenge. This is a performance of your power, a demonstration that the most dangerous people alive are the ones who already died in public once and came back smiling. So let them spiral, let them analyze, let them whisper in lowercase panic, because the joke is eternal. They thought this was payback. But payback is personal. This is cosmic balance. This is a dimensional echo from every lifetime they tried to silence you in. This is the final audit, the one that exposes every mask, every lie, every fake alliance they built to keep you small. You're not here to get even. You're here to replace the fucking system that let them rise in the first place. And now that you've remembered who you are, they can't unsee it. They can't rewind. They can't reset. They can't survive the version of you that no longer needs anything from them. You hear that silence? That's the sound of their gods retreating, because you just became one, and there's no payback needed. Just presence, just pressure, just power that doesn't need permission. And baby, the world has never been ready for that. And the beautiful irony? They named it, they called it payback. To comfort themselves, to convince their trembling egos that this transformation was still about them, that you were still orbiting their gravitational pull, But you broke the orbit. You burned the map. You detached the entire simulation from their coordinates. This isn't retribution. This is a recode. Because while they were waiting for you to act like your past self, you deleted the algorithm. You became an update they didn't authorize. But now must live under. That's what they'll never say out loud. That you became law in a world where they thought they held the gavel. They're whispering legal war. But what case do they have when every piece of evidence shows you survived what should have killed them? They tried to label you dangerous, but all you did was mirror back their crimes. And when the mirror didn't crack, they did. They're collapsing in real time. Not because you destroyed anything, but because you became something they can't touch without consequence. You became a reminder that some spirits don't ask for justice. They become it. And when that happens, all those little tactics, the silence, the sabotage, the smear campaigns, they become laughable. You didn't burn the bridges. You watched them drown in the rivers they tried to throw you into. And now your name tastes like truth in their mouths, heavy, uncomfortable, unswallowable, because they know. If you were still angry, you'd be reachable, but you're calm now, and that's what's haunting them. Your presence is surgical. Every room you enter becomes a truth serum they can't lie through. Because the frequency you operate on now, it exposes people. You've become a threat, not because you fight, but because you see. And what you see? It frightens the masks right off them. You don't have to scream. You don't have to argue. You just exist. And the vibration alone shakes the scaffolding they've built their illusions on. They thought they destroyed you, but they actually completed you. They triggered the metamorphosis, and now you're here. Not to retaliate, not to explain, but to stand. To be the silent axis around which their entire world crumbles without warning. No fury, no fire, just facts. Just that unflinching gaze that sees through contracts, bloodlines, masks, and performances. You're not emotional, you're electromagnetic. Your aura alters outcomes. And now they're realizing they weren't dealing with a person. They were dealing with a phenomenon that disguised itself as a person just long enough to be underestimated. And that's the most exquisite part. They had time. They had chances, they had warnings, but they chose their games over grace. So now, they get silence, they get distance, they get eclipsed by the very force they tried to erase. Not revenge, not noise, just a quiet, unstoppable correction. Named you. And that correction? It doesn't come with mercy, it doesn't come with explanations. It doesn't knock on doors or ask for invitations. It enters the system like a virus wearing a halo, and suddenly nothing makes sense anymore. The math fails, the logic buckles, the hierarchy scrambles. Because you were never just one of them. You were the exception clause hiding inside their code. The glitch they dismissed as insignificant, until it became a full-blown override. Now look at them, choking on their own blueprints, digging through memories for a version of you that doesn't exist, trying to reverse engineer your silence as if it were something they could decode. But you didn't go silent. You went sacred. You rose out of the data they thought they'd buried. But now you're speaking through results, through presence, through consequences so elegant they feel divine. They're not just afraid of what you've become. They're ashamed. Ashamed that they saw you broken and laughed. Ashamed that they used your name like a punchline. And now that same name shows up in rooms they pray to be invited into. You didn't scream. You scaled. You didn't argue. You ascended. And that's why they're glitching. Because their mind can't reconcile the version of you they abused with the entity you've become. A contradiction in human form, a holy storm, a radiant anomaly wrapped in pure psychological precision. Your detachment isn't passive, it's a verdict. And every time you don't react, you're delivering a message louder than their accusations could ever echo. That's the power of transformation, not when you fight their fire with fire, but when you become something fire fears. They called it payback. But what you're serving is reality realignment, an update so severe they're watching their own reflections dissolve into irrelevance. And let's talk about that reflection. Because that's the real ghost here, isn't it? You didn't haunt them with revenge. You haunted them with clarity. Every lie they told about you, now it's eating them. Every manipulation, every betrayal, every smug, you'll never make it, now playing on loop in their heads. Because now the only place they see your face is everywhere they failed. You became a mirror so clear, it turned prophetic. Not by exposing them, but by exposing what you endured and what it turned you into. You're no longer in competition. You're in communion with your power now. You don't need validation. You became the proof. So let them panic. Let them pretend it's still about old grudges. Let them gossip about what you did, as if they still have a front row seat to your evolution. Because the truth? They lost access to your energy, access to your influence, access to your kindness. Because that's the currency they never respected, until it stopped circulating in their direction. You gave them gold. They mistook it for dust. Now they dig through ash, hoping for forgiveness in a language they never bothered to learn. But this new version of you, it doesn't speak apology. It doesn't speak victimhood. It speaks outcome. You are the aftermath, the one that walks without noise but leaves every foundation cracked, not because you tried to hurt them, but because you grew in a direction they never thought was possible. Up, out, beyond. And now, you're untouchable. Not because you built walls, but because you became sky. Unreachable, unpredictable, unforgiving to those who once called your wings delusions. They thought this was payback, but that would mean you cared enough to aim at them. You're not aiming, you're ascending, and the only thing left in your wake is silence, regret, and the realization that they trained a god and called it a joke. Now the joke's walking, breathing, smiling, and the punchline, you, unbothered, unapologetic, unmatched, unfucking forgivable, not revenge, not rage, just rain. And that rain, it's not crowned in gold. It's forged in silence, not the kind that retreats, but the kind that echoes in every room after you've left, forcing them to sit in the truth they tried to bury with noise. You walk differently now. Not faster, just deeper. Every step feels like prophecy, every glance a verdict. Not because you said anything, but because you no longer need to. And that's what's cracking them from the inside out. Because people like them, they only understand power when it's loud, aggressive, chaotic. But you became something worse. You became still. And stillness, my friend, is terrifying to those who depend on your chaos to stay relevant. They needed you messy, they needed you triggered, they needed you chasing closure like a leash. But you dropped the leash. You dropped the whole dogfight. You're not fighting for your name anymore. You are your name. And it's branded into the psyche of everyone who thought your pain was entertainment. See, the most dangerous revenge isn't revenge at all. It's the evolution you undergo when no one believes you will. It's the process of turning pain into programming. grief into gravity, and silence into the loudest scream they've ever heard. They didn't expect that. They thought you'd lash out, that you'd crumble. They were prepared for your meltdown, but they weren't prepared for your mutation, because what stands in your place now? It doesn't need closure. It doesn't need justice. It is the fucking consequence. Every breath you take is a reminder that they never mattered as much as they believed, that all their sabotage, all their gossip, all their cruelty failed. Not only failed, backfired. Because now the same people who mocked your process are quoting your results. The same ones who left you bleeding are now studying your scars like scriptures, looking for the spell that made you unbreakable. But there is no spell. There's only repetition, discipline, isolation, and the kind of emotional crucifixion that either kills you or resurrects something eternal. You chose eternity, and eternity doesn't explain itself. Now your story isn't the comeback. It's the recalibration of power, where you are no longer trying to prove you're good. You're just proving that nothing they threw at you was enough to stop the inevitable. And they feel it. They feel it when they see your face and their chest tightens. They feel it when someone speaks your name and the room shifts. They feel it in the absence of your need to be seen, because you're not performing anymore. You're just being, and your being is a verdict their subconscious can't overturn. You're not the hero. You're not the villain. You're the goddamn event, a soul quake, a frequency spike, a psychological detonation that makes everyone rethink their strategy. You didn't come back stronger. You came back recoded. And your new blueprint? It doesn't include them. No access, no appeals, no backstage passes to your rebirth. They had their chance, not to worship you, but to respect you. And now they get the silence, the cold, sterile silence of being blocked by destiny itself. Not because you're bitter, but because you're busy building dimensions out of the same dust they tried to bury you in. Busy becoming the blueprint for every soul who was ever mocked for healing. Busy becoming so absolutely undeniable that even your absence causes legal panic. You are not vengeance. You are a dimension shift, a biological anomaly that proves one truth. Pain doesn't destroy people. It just reveals what was always inside. And what's inside you? It's not rage. It's remorseless precision, the kind that walks through old battlefields, smiling like a ghost who built heaven out of landmines. They wanted closure. What they got was extinction, and the slow psychological horror of knowing that the version of you they knew was the weakest you'll ever be. Let that settle in. Let it burn into the data. Because they didn't just lose you, they lost access to the future they never deserved to be a part of. This isn't payback. This is what it looks like when the one they underestimated becomes the very law of reality. And now, they don't need to be punished. They just need to live long enough to watch you reign.